Hello everybody, how's it going today? Glowplasma 231 here, back in day to about Kagurabachi, chapter number 92.1, or really just the second bonus chapter we have gotten of Kagurabachi during the manga's run. And yeah, we're here to talk about this chapter here today. Honestly, I did not know what I was going to expect coming into this chapter, and to be honest with you, I still don't know what to expect coming into this chapter. I only know one piece of information about this chapter, and that is the first page, and this is another installment of the Genichi Sojo's Bathhouse quest series. Mainly because I thought that this was going to be like a 5-10 page chapter, something small like that, and I was going to do a live reading of it, because I thought it would be a pretty fun thing to do, like, hey, Kagurabachi's off this week, so let's have a little bit of fun talking about the Kagurabachi chapter. But of course, no, that's not particularly the case. This chapter, if I'm not mistaken, is like a full 19-page manga chapter, and it's just like a break from all the big, bombastic fighting that Hokazono has been driving, really just giving him a nice break, and just being able to draw Sojo again, which is honestly a pretty cool thing. And many of you are like, Glowplasma, you have the ability to sit down and write these videos however you want them. Like, you can read the chapter. I'm like, you know what? It'll just be a fun time if we read this chapter live regardless. I don't know if you guys are, yeah, either way. I just thought it'd be a fun little thing to do, right? But without any further ado, last chapter won't really have any bearing on this chapter. What I really should be talking about is what happened last time in the Genichi Sojo Bathhouse quest chapter. And it was just like, he went to a hot spring or a bathhouse that he normally likes. There was a woman named Tai that worked there. And during that time, Sojo's getting ready to inherit the Enchanted Blade, presumably from the Hashaku, even though we really have no full idea about that, but it's probably where he got it from, right? But the whole idea there was like, hey, Sojo is getting ready to go off and get the Enchanted Blade, and his life's about to be so much happier because of it, right? Well, we open up this installment of the Genichi Sojo Bathhouse quest number 2, and there's also a little note that says like, hey, please enjoy this brief respite from the main story. Thank you for letting me know, Hokazono. I will. But pretty much we just start off with a little bit of narration, I guess, from Sojo's. It's just like, hey, after a long day of work, there's only one way to unwind. A nice, hot soak. As we just see a little bit, it's some gray panels in manga, which isn't always the most common, but we just see a little bit of a panel here where Sojo was initially given the Cloud Gouger Enchanted Blade, as this is a little bit with somebody saying like, alright, this is the Enchanted Blade Cloud Gouger, and Sojo is just looking at the blade thinking, oh, yesterday my dream came true. As now we cut over and we see that he is actually talking with Yura all of a sudden. Okay, that's a little bit of an interesting thing. And Yura's just like, hey, this should improve the quality of your research, but I'm trusting you, Cloud Gouger is a backup plan. You got it. From now on, our highest priority is to get results. In 6 weeks, it all goes down at the Rakuzaichi. Until then, and he's like, hey, are you listening, Sojo? But Sojo's just so happy to have the Enchanted Blade that he's not really paying attention to what Yura is saying here in the moment. As Sojo just thinks to himself in his own, like, narration world, even 18 years after the war, nobody knows how to work with the unique ore known as Danseki. The only person in history who ever managed to temper it was Kunishige Rokuhira. But very soon, I will surpass him. One crucial step in that process is to gain a deeper understanding of Cloud Gouger, one of his masterpieces. As we just see an image of Sojo sitting in a cafe somewhere, sipping some coffee, and of course he's at one of these like small tables that has 2 chairs on it, right? He's sitting in one chair, and on the other chair, propped up in front of him, he has Cloud Gouger just sitting there, right? Good old Kuragumo, he's just like looking at the blade here in the moment. And the next panel we see is even Sojo just sitting on a park bench on one side of it, and beside of him is Cloud Gouger just sitting up on the bench as well. That's really funny, right? And then, oh my gosh, and then the next page, we just see Sojo laying on the ground in presumably the same park, just laying next to Cloud Gouger, just looking at it very, like, admirably, like, oh, this sword, I love it so much, right? As Sojo just thinks like, hey, I spent the entire day today making a huge stride forward. Really, he just went on a date with his Enchanted Blade pretty much, right? The perfect ending to a good day is a visit to a bathhouse. Today, I'll be going to this one here, the Mita Bathhouse, an 8-minute walk from Harita Station on the Toden Miki line. Okay, that's pretty cool. This old lady works the reception desk. We see this lady's name is Michiko, and she is 78 years old. I'm very glad we get a Kagurabachi name. I'm so excited because it's like, look at her. She's Michiko, right? She's 76. Information I definitely wanted to know. Do we even know how old Sojo is? Like, that's a very good question, right? But either way, Sojo just walks up and says, like, hey, one towel set, please. And she's like, right, here you go, and hands it off to him. And she also sort of says, like, hey, sir, should I take that blade for you, pretty much? And Sojo is just thinking, like, oh, my enchanted blade is still a katana. You don't want to take that into a human environment. As we see, Sojo remembers back to whenever he was reading a book titled Building Better Relationships. Of course, most likely for like romantic relationships or something like that. And there's just a few lines highlighted like taking some space, deepening your bond. And Sojo is just thinking about all of this and he's like, oh, I wonder if I should do it. And he's eventually like, okay. And he sort of hands over the blade to the lady. And Sojo's like, all right. We were together all day. It's good to have some space sometimes. And he just hands it to the lady, Michiko, and she's sort of like is just holding the enchanted blade in her hand like, I don't really know about this, right? But as she's doing this, Sojo gets ready to go over to walk off, and he looks over to one of the milk refrigerators here in the bathhouse, and he looks over and sees, oh, they have fruit milk. As Sojo sort of goes over and is like, wait a second, they have it. And he's like, wait a second, that place yesterday didn't have it either. It sort of makes sense that yesterday was the day that the last Sojo Bathhouse Quest chapter happened, because presumably Sojo went off to get Cloud Gouger that night, met Yura, and then today he spent all day with the Enchanted Blade, and now he's going to another bathhouse to sort of like do all of the various stuff, right? As we see a little panel of like him remembering Tai and all that other stuff, and like, oh man, they didn't have the fruit milk at the other bathhouse, right? And Sojo just thinks like, hey, strawberry milk and coffee milk just don't compare. This isn't indie just stole any fruit milk. It's a cold fruit milk after a long bath. As Sojo just goes in and walks into the bathhouse, and as he's sort of sitting in the bath, he's just thinking like, man, I have this place all to myself, and then there's the sauna a door over too, and Sojo's like, it's not like yesterday whenever those guys came into that bathhouse, right? And Sojo thinks like, hey, today I spent a whole day with my beloved Enchanted Blade, topped off by the ultimate bath, setting me up for another excellent day tomorrow. This is perfection. As Sojo's like, it's all perfect, down to the last detail. As oh no, we see that some young boy walks into the bathhouse as Sojo is sitting here all alone. And we get a really funny framed shot as Sojo just looks out at this kid. The two of them stare each other in the eyes. And of course, this kid is just butt naked, right? He's just sort of standing there. We honestly peer through his legs to look at Sojo sitting in a bath. It's honestly really funny. As all of a sudden, this kid just runs up and then just jumps into the pool. Of course, we have some very nice steam that is covering up some bits that we don't want to be seeing on our manga page. And Sojo is blown away by this. He just looks at this kid who is now like just laying back, like floating in the bath water. And Sojo is just like, whoa, no, what's going on here, right? As we see this child's father walks into the room, and Sojo's like, hey, sir, is that your kid? And the guy's like, yeah, it is my kid. And Sojo's like, well, then do something about him. As we see this kid is now like standing up on the edge of the bathhouse, and he's just like trying to like not to fall over and do all of this stuff. And Sojo's like, hey, the bathhouse is a sacrosanct temple to quietly reset the mind and body. Disturbing others is prohibited. If he can't behave, he must get out of here. And the father just looks over like, okay, and he just walks over to the son and just like kneels down and just is like, all right, son, we need to talk about all of this various stuff, right? As we just see this sort of happens, and then 20 minutes later, we see that this kid's son and himself just like end up leaving the room. And Sojo's like, oh, finally. As Sojo just remembers all of the stupid things this kid was doing in the bathhouse, as he's just like, after that, it was quiet, but the images of his bizarre shenanigans derailed my equanimity. As he sort of just like is sitting there in the bathhouse, and he's just thinking more and more. And he's like, wait a second. The hot soak should have warmed my body through and through, so why do I feel so chill? As we see that Sojo then like just hops out, quickly washes his hair, and then runs outside of the bathhouse, and he's like, oh, what's going on here, right? as we just see that Sojo sees this little kid standing in front of the milk machine. And of course, there's only one fruit milk left there. And Sojo's like, no, there's only one fruit milk left. How can this happen, pretty much, right? And it looks like this kid is just standing there trying to figure out which one to take. And Sojo's like, no, this can't be. My post-bath fruit milk. To forgo 2 days in a row would be unbearable. And most of all of it, to have it stolen from me from that obnoxious brat would simply add insult to my injury. And Sojo's like, oh, I know what I have to do. As we just get some narration saying that Sojo made his move, he very quickly dries himself off, dons on his big overshirt, and then just goes and looks over the child's shoulder, as this kid is just standing there, not paying any attention to Sojo. As Sojo just thinks, with another person waiting in line, taking the last one would be quite poor etiquette, I know it would be. And then Sojo's like, oh, but wait a second. This child is utterly shameless. Minutes ago, he was boogieing unabashedly with his junk on full display. It's invulnerable. But oh right, this child is utterly shameless. Minutes ago, he was boogieing unabashed with his junk on full display in the bathhouse. He's invulnerable to social pressure. His behavior is governed purely by his own impulses. As Sojo's like, no, wait. In that case, there's no reason for me to follow the rules either. And he's like, wait a second. Screw waiting in the line. As Sojo dashes in front of the child here. But of course, the child's father is still here in the bathhouse as well, who sort of looks over to Sojo here in the moment. And Sojo's like, oh, no, I can't do this, and sort of stops his action. As the dad just says like, Yuki, hurry up and make a choice. And this kid's like, I guess I'll get strawberry milk, I guess. And he just goes and grabs the fruit milk here in the moment. And Sojo's like, no, that's not strawberry milk. As the kid just picks it up and drunks it down his gullet pretty much, right? And Sojo just remembers everything this child did in the bathhouse, the way this child has caused more harm than he will ever know to Sojo today. As Sojo just then runs over to the main desk where we see the old lady is sitting there. Of course, her name was Michiko. How could I forget that? I definitely have to scroll back to the beginning of the chapter to figure that out. But Sojo runs up and says like, hey, old lady. And he's like, hand it over now. And she's like, oh, do you mean this? And picks up his enchanted blade and sits Cloud Gouger on the table in front of him. And Sojo just sees it here in a second, and he grabs it, getting one hand on the hilt and one hand on the sheath, getting ready to unleash it. And he just remembers, oh, wait a second. Building your relationship by taking space. If the relationship is really what you need, perspective to deepen your bond, take it more seriously. As Sojo then just collapses on the floor, holding the enchanted blade in his hands, as Sojo just thinks, oh, I couldn't bear this alone. And he just says to the lady, thank you very much. Changes into his regular Sojo attire pretty much, and then runs out of the Mika bathhouse just thinking, all right, let's get out of here, Cloud Gouger. And that's where we end this chapter of Kagurabachi, the Genichi Sojo Bathhouse Quest bonus chapter number 2. This was awesome. For a live reading, that was a really fun one to do, just to go through the entire chapter. Honestly, this will have no bearing on the story. Sojo's arc has already finished, but I love how Hokazono loves to draw Sojo, so he's just continuing to bring him back every time. It's honestly pretty nice to know that we sort of now have a precedent of any time that Kagurabachi does take a break, and we're going to get a whole, bonus chapter. It's simply just going to be a Sojo bathhouse quest, which is honestly just a really cool thing. We could probably do one every single day till he ends up meeting with Chihiro, and we can do one eventually if we have 4 of these after the day that he meets Chihiro, and oh man, I met this kid in the bathhouse today, he's just chilling there in the water. It's honestly just a really cool thing, and the whole idea of Sojo just being an obsessive girlfriend over his enchanted blade is really funny. I don't think I can stress how great that is, and of course the child just coming back and forth, and Sojo having to deal with all of this in the moment. It's a very good way to create conflict and not necessarily solve it, but solve it by showing that Sojo is slightly insane, which is always just a fun thing to do at the end of the day. So yeah, I don't have much to say about this chapter. I'll see you guys next week for the official chapter number 93 of Kagurabachi, not one of these extra bonus chapters, but hey, I'm really happy that Hokazono got this break. Even if he did give us a full-length chapter, even if it's not part of the main story, it still means that Hokazono is getting a little bit of rest, which is really what all of the mangaka should be getting. And as much as I love getting manga chapters from all my favorite manga every single week, I often sometimes feel that Jump should just take the route of Shonen Sunday and sort of just be like, all right, yeah, we have, or Young Jump, whatever magazine it is, and be like, hey, we have 18, or not 18, that's how many manga Jump has, but we have 30-something manga, and each of them publish 4 chapters, and then they take a week off, right? Which is a really nice thing, being that the manga can get some break. And for the stories that they produce for all of us fans, it is something that I really hope they can all get through and have, pretty much, right? But yeah, I don't have anything else to say about this chapter. I'll catch you guys for the next one. If you did enjoy this video on if you did enjoy this video on this chapter of Kagurabachi, I've talked about Kagurabachi since chapter number 46 or something like that. There'll be a playlist in the description box of this video along with the end card of this video as well. And yeah, all out of the way, I'll catch you guys next time for Kagurabachi chapter number 9. I was about to say 73, it's 93. That's how numbers work. I'll catch you guys next time. This would be Glowplasma signing out.